Hi, I'm Dave. We are Accessrock. Today we are at Wongraven headquarters and we get to talk to Satyr from Satyricon.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Are you having a good day so far?
I had to get up really early, but yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Did you fly in today from Norway?
Yeah, I did. I got up at 4:30.
Oh.
So that's fine. That's fine. These days of traveling, talking about a new record, they can be quite rough. But then again, when you make a new record, it's, well, I guess, people talk about promoting the record, but for me, it's not really about promoting the record commercially. It's about promoting the importance of the record. Okay. That's the way I view it. So, I could say that we're really proud of the new record, but we also know that one of the things that we try to achieve with the record is for the record to not really like become popular, but to become an important record. And if you want to achieve that, you also need to tour, and you need to talk to the press about the record to create awareness on it. Otherwise it will be, because there are many records out there that are extremely good and extremely important, but we never hear about them. Think about how many records that are out there that you would actually love, but you haven't heard them yet. And maybe you will never hear them. That's almost sad to think about. So,
yes.
Yeah. And so to me, traveling around in Europe talking about the record is also trying to make it known to the world that we've made a record that we think is a record that truly defines Satyricon. That's why it's self-titled.
Yes, it's called Satyricon.
But it's also a record with an analog production, with a completely unprocessed sound, and probably the time that we live in now is the worst time ever in terms of sound in music. And a lot of that is down to how everything has become digital, which is a shame, because sound is very important to translate emotions in music in the right way. So one of the things that we try to do with this record is also to make it an influential record in terms of sound that perhaps can also try and inspire especially younger bands, but also established bands, in terms of trying to go for a more analog sound, which we in Satyricon think is very important. And it's always been an element of Satyricon, and it's always been a part of what we do, but never in such an uncompromising way as on the new record.
When you then released it for mixing to Adam Kasper, was that how did that feel?
Well, to me that was just a great experience, because we were looking at lots of different people, and when I mix, I'm always there, like every single minute of the process I'm there. So some bands just send the tape, to some other country, and they will get it back, and then it is what it is, whether you like it or not. If you have a big budget, you can say, I don't like it, let's have the record mixed by someone else. But for most bands, it's like what you get is what you will end up with, because it's quite, the expensive part really is to mix a record. So I always attend mix sessions, of course, and not only do I attend them, but I take part in the actual mixing. But for the most part, when I mix records, it's really it's been the mix engineer that's like, you know, in control of the mix, and I'll say, I don't like this, or I really like that. I think that we should try and do more of that, or, you know, things like that. But with Adam, it's very different. I really, for the most part, mixed the record with his assistant, his mix engineer. Now Adam was you know, he was crucial and vital to the mix. It's not like he didn't participate, but it was very different in the way that he almost approached it in the way that he would leave the room and then come back, listen to what we were doing, give some feedback, leave the room again, come back and say, listen, I really like it a lot. And I say, yeah, we do too. And then and I asked him about that. And he said that, because I said, your way of working works really well for me. But I'm very much a studio musician more than a touring musician. And I have 20 years of experience. Maybe it wouldn't be ideal for like an 18-year-old artist. No. And he said that, well, you know, it's pretty much the way I work. I'm used to working with experienced artists that are driven and know what they want. And then he said, I spent the first couple of days looking at, trying to assess and analyze how you are. And he said, you know your stuff. My assistant is extremely good. So for me to sit here and blow out my ears for hours and hours is no good. It's better for me to come in with fresh ears and give you some perspective on what you're doing. And that worked really well for me.
That sounds like something
yeah.
would work. Writing the record, this is, as I've understood, you say that this is kind of, it's a raw record, and it's also a bit more mellow record. It's not explosive in that way.
Well, I guess the thing is that it's very dynamical.
Yeah.
So it's both, because it is very mellow. But also, if you look at it, first of all, you can have dynamics within one song, but you can also have dynamics within the record as a whole. So I would say that if you listen to what to me is one of the probably the signature song on the record, which is a song called "The Infinity of Time and Space." It moves from, you know, epic to very mellow and almost quiet, to intense and quite, you know, authoritative and aggressive. Really has, like, you know, you're taken on a roller coaster ride, you could say. But it isn't only about that, it's also about the dynamics between the songs. For me, one good example of that is, you know, in the way the record is sequenced. So that would be like the prior to the song Phoenix, you have a song called Nocturnal Flare, which has, you know, quite huge dynamics within the song. And then there's Phoenix, which is a very atmospheric and almost like melancholic song. And then looking at the order of the songs, I felt that after Phoenix, it's the right time for a very, you know, aggressive song like Walker Upon the Wind, because the mellow parts or the dark, quiet parts will be less effective if there's not something to, you know, break the fluency of the record.
Contrast.
Yeah. And to me, the song Necrohaven is the same way, that just like Walker Upon the Wind by itself, I'm very pleased with the song, but even more so to me, I'm pleased with the way it behaves in that context. that it's meant to break up things, to create variation. And when it's pretty much as banal as this, if you have something powerful and aggressive and you place it after something low-key and melancholic, it will sound even more aggressive and energetic. And likewise, if you feel that you've been beaten up by a song like Walker Upon the Wind, or, you know, whatever, any type of song like that, and you then break into something more atmospheric, the atmospheric song will become perhaps even more of a relief and easier to connect with emotionally, and makes you appreciate that even more. So dynamics is important within songs, but it's also important in a record as a whole. And I remember a friend of mine in this LA band called System of a Down, the guitar player, him and I, we discussed this years ago, and he said for some strange reason sequencing of an album, so the order of the songs, is very underestimated. It is by musicians and producers and managers and record company people that all like to have opinions about this kind of stuff. They underestimate how important it is for your perception and understanding of the songs by themselves, but the whole album as well.
But isn't that because of the music industry also looks a bit different now? You can log on to Spotify and
Sure.
you can just
Sure, that's definitely part of that.
Song.
Well, you could say, I think that was a problem prior to all of that, but it's probably by being, you know, intensified by that. And a lot of people were saying to me about the new record with, you know, playlists, and people make their own playlists, and so I just said, well, let them. I don't care. I mean, I listen to a record from beginning to end, and I think this record, you know, begs to be and even demands to be played from beginning to end. It is to be enjoyed as a musical journey as a whole, and so I'm sure some people break it up and make playlists and stuff like that and mix it with some older Satyricon tracks, but they can do that. But I am addressing people who think like me with almost everything that I do. And one of the things that I like is to disappear into the music. And for me, it's really hard to do that with playlists, because then you have different styles, or even if you have the same style, different type of sound. You know, something that was recorded in 1982 is not going to sound like something that was recorded in 2008, you know. So even those things are, to me, disturbing, and sort of takes me out of that place where I like to be when I listen to music. It's almost like, you know, like a movie would keep changing between color and black and white, to be very irritating.
I was thinking about the song Phoenix, where you have Sigurd singing.
Yeah.
And if I have my information correct, you wrote that for him.
Exactly. And that was the whole point, to do just that. So I think one of the reasons why guest appearances, in my opinion anyway, becomes a little bit, you know, gimmick-like, is because a lot of the time it will be artists that are on a festival or accidentally in the same studio, and they hook up and they get along, and, well, why don't you just, you know, come in the studio and do some guest stuff, would be really cool. And it can be, but most of the time it isn't. And then I've tried to, you know, analyze a little bit to myself why. And the only answer I can come up with is maybe because it wasn't really written for someone to do a guest appearance. it was more like a social thing that, yeah, that would be fun. And sometimes it does work, but most of the time in my ears it doesn't. It just becomes like a gimmick. Okay, yeah, okay, well, you're friends and you're from the same scene or whatever. But so I actually asked Sigurd before I had written a single note. I said, I think this would be musically very, very interesting.
I actually got a jazz feeling from this.
Oh, you did? Interesting. Everyone
Some
has
parts
a different
they're
perception on it. Yeah, to me, that just like shows that. I would say that the song to me instrumentally is it's got the double kicks and it's got the classic Norwegian black metal melodies and all that. And so to me, and it has the dynamic breakdowns typical of not only this record but Satyricon as a band. So you could say that if I did the vocals on it the way I do my vocals, then probably it would have appeared as a classic Satyricon track. That's what I think anyway. But he's got a quite characteristic voice and a special tone, and his personality comes across in the way he's performing the lyrics. And that's one of the things that he said. He said, are you writing the lyrics or do you want me to do it? And I said, you should do it. I know from my own experience that I perform better vocally if I've written the lyrics myself. So I said, you should do it. And he did it. And I think the fact that it's him changes the perception of what's going on with drums and guitar, so that what the moves that I did, they were more like music technical stuff that adjusting perhaps the key of some of the parts to so that he wouldn't have to struggle with that, and put it in a place where he can be at his best, and sometimes maybe try and purposefully put it in a place where he would have to fight a little bit harder to see if something interesting comes out of that. Okay. But I think he did amazingly well. To me, it sounds real.
It does. You are known for touring. Touring extra much for being a black metal band. But I just read that you are planning on touring a bit less now.
Yeah. Well, it's not something that I wanted to be known for, to be a band that's touring a lot.
No.
That just happened. I always, my dream was to write and record music. And I guess after the touring cycle of the Age of Nero, I really felt like I had enough. Okay. I almost felt like, either we take a break or we quit. Those are the two options, because I really felt like we're spending so much time touring, and see, like, being on stage is nice, but as a girl you can imagine, like, if you enjoy being pampered at a spa and you would have to travel around the world and spend like 8 hours in the waiting room every day for a massage or something like that, then probably it wouldn't be, you wouldn't appreciate it in the same way. And to me, I'm not trying to suggest that we don't appreciate playing live, but the concept of touring, I don't appreciate. Because what people don't realize is that it's like, at least for me, to just being robbed of normal sleep, how that really affects you. That you cannot, like, you go somewhere for 9 weeks and not one single night can you sleep well, and you find like after 4 weeks you have to take a sleeping pill and just knock yourself out so you can sleep for 8 hours. And there's no fun like standing on some parking lot because a bus break down for hours, you know, eating sausages waiting for some like spare bus to come pick you up. And it's no fun to sit in a German dressing room with no heaters because they're cheap and they're trying to save money. So you have to sit with like your jacket and your hat and your gloves indoor. Yeah, because some promoter is trying to save money on the electricity bill. And what it makes you feel is it makes you feel like a dog, that, you know, that you feel really underappreciated. So I think there are very few divas out there. I think the majority of artists struggle to even be respected in the way. Like even after 20 years of doing this, we still, it doesn't happen very often, but we still actually, the last time it happened was in 2009, where, for example, some people said, we don't know how many tickets we will sell yet, so we haven't bought any food. And like, well, you have to give us food, you know? And they're like, well, you know, we only sold 300 tickets and we don't know how many will show up at the door. And you go, well, we really don't care. Go out and buy food now. And same thing in 2009, we had even being represented by one of the biggest booking agencies in the world, we had tour managers come and say, the promoter refuses to pay. And I was so, well, make them pay. This is what we do, you know. For a living, they have to pay us. We played the show. And then after having dealt with so much of this stuff, I think, God, like, you know, I really, really don't want to spend time doing that. So what I'm saying is that we want to go out there and play because the time we spend on stage is time that we enjoy. And when we meet with Satyricon fans, we meet with the people who are the most interested in the same thing as us, namely Satyricon. And that, you know, makes us humble and makes us feel privileged, and we truly appreciate that. But I think the tear and wear of all this other stuff has come to a point where we feel like, okay, we have to limit this a little bit, because I'd rather do a little bit less of that and continue doing what we love to do, as opposed to being shoved far enough into that corner where you just say, I've had enough, I quit, you know.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of fans, you have a... you haven't... I was looking at your webpage, and you haven't updated the tour info.
We haven't.
And you just kind of recently started a Facebook page.
We did, yeah.
So there are different types of Satyricon
Facebook pages, yeah.
But the one that is yours is the one that is called Satyricon Norway.
Yeah,
right?
Or official or something like that.
It's called Satyricon Norway, I think, because you have a lot of fans on the other Satyricon homepage.
So I heard, yeah. Facebook I'm not pages. On Facebook, so what I do is that, you know, when I have a message or piece of information or something that I want to relay to our fans, I write the update as an email to the management, and they post it.
Okay.
And for me, that's really proven to be the best way, because I want to try and update the fans on what we're doing, but I think as not only as an artist, but for any human being out there, you should be very careful to read comments on social medias, because all of a sudden that becomes reality, but it's not reality. It's the opinion of a few people, and even if there are thousands of comments, it's thousands of people is nothing in the big picture. You know, there are billions of people living on the planet. So we've had this sort of core philosophy for a long time that let's do what we do, but we don't read so much. I mean, from time to time we do, but for example, with the last record, I was on the front cover of Kerrang, and well, I guess that's, you know, kind of like a cool, prestigious thing as a musician to be on the cover of Kerrang. So I have the album, the magazine, but still to this day, I've never actually read the cover story. So it's more like, I mean, because when I was a kid, we bought like Metal Hammer and Kerrang to update ourselves on what Iron Maiden or whatever was doing. So kind of fun to be on the cover, but I felt no need to read my answers or how wrong they became. So, because I know it will only piss me off anyway. So,
anything
So but yeah, even with the website, that's more practical stuff, because that one actually, because it wasn't social media and all that, we did to actually log on to the database and do all the updates ourselves. Technically speaking, we still do the updates ourselves, but someone takes care of the technical stuff. But that was, as I said, something very practical, with some webmaster sitting with basically the control of the entire database, quitting the whole business. So we're like, okay, and we pretty much discovered that the only way coming out of this was that we cannot even, like, you know, fix or update that website. We have to make a new one, and it's about to be ready in a few days, I believe. So that would be good, just to launch a new personalized Satyricon webpage. And then you have that, and then you have the official Facebook. So.
Okay. Because on the Facebook, I just have to tip, if you want to win meet and greet tickets to see you and actually say hello to both you and Frost, you should go to their Facebook page, which is Satyricon Norway and no other. Because there you actually have some special things. Yes, we do. Yeah, there. I mean, there's all a little bit new to both me and Frost, and I can't even be bothered to try and explain it to Frost. But yeah, it's the nice thing about these things is that it's a band's opportunity to communicate directly with the fans, and you can do stuff like that. Yeah. Hei, dette Satyr fra Satyricon, og du ser på Accessrock.